She pushed my hand off like it was a fly. No words. Just a little roll toward the edge of the bed. Phone lighting up her shoulder, the flimsy excuse of being wiped hanging in the air because she'd said it the last 5 nights. I stayed still and stared at the ceiling fan. It made that soft clicking sound it always made around midnight, like a metronome for how long a man can sit in his own house and feel like a stranger. Seriously? I asked the room. She didn't answer, just scrolled. The glow painted her face a cold blue. "You're always on me lately," she muttered. "Can't I just decompress?" "You've had a month to decompress," I replied. "What exactly are we decompressing from?" "Each other." She exhaled like I'd broken a rule. "Don't start. I'm exhausted." "Yeah," I said. "I can tell." If I'd known where it was headed, I would have gotten sleep that night instead of practicing patience I'd never get back. Morning came the same way it always did. Coffee at 6, the dog whining for the yard, my truck warming up. She floated into the kitchen with her robe half-tied and a list in her hand. "Can you take my car for that rattle? And pick up my dry cleaning? And remember my sister's thing tonight?" She rattled off, tapping her notes app. I poured my coffee, set it down, and looked out the window at the frosted grill. "No," I said, and it came out flat. She blinked. "No to what?" "To all of it. Put your car on your own calendar. Dry cleaning too." Her mouth opened, then closed. "You're kidding." "I'm not," I answered and took a long sip. "Evening distance means morning distance. That's the new math." She laughed, a short forced sound. "That's petty." "It's proportional," I said, picked up my keys, and walked out. The first time I ignored her list felt like taking my hand off a hot stove. At work in the shop, Nate rolled his stool over and studied me. I've known Nate 15 years. He notices when a bolt is a quarter turn off. People aren't different. "You look like a guy who slept on a question mark," he said, nudging a carburetor my way. "House is weird," I told him. "Evenings have become a museum. Please don't touch the exhibits." "Fun," he said. "That new trend where closeness is a coupon?" I shrugged. "If it is, I'm not shopping." My phone buzzed. "Don't forget to confirm the reservation for my sister's birthday," her text read. I put the phone face down and went back to work. When Nate asked if everything was okay, I said, "It will be, one way or the other." That night, I moved into the guest room without a speech. I folded my stuff, stacked it on the dresser, and said to her, "Until we're done playing games." She stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "You're being dramatic," she said. "I'm being practical," I corrected. "This is me protecting my sleep." She rolled her eyes. "Whatever." "Exactly," I said, and turned off the lamp. No slamming. No scene. Just a lock clicking on a door that had never needed it. The next morning, she hovered by the coffee maker like a customer deciding whether to complain. "Are you giving me the silent treatment now?" she asked. "No," I said, rinsing my mug. "I'm giving you the same bandwidth you give me. I asked you a question, and I answered it," I replied. "We're efficient now." She tapped her nail on the counter. "You're punishing me." "I'm adjusting," I said. "If you don't like my adjustment, stop giving me a reason to make it." "Wow," she said. "You're ice." "I'm calm," I corrected. "It's different." I left for the shop early. The new rule settled in. If nights were closed, mornings were office hours only. She didn't like the new hours. 2 days later, at the grocery store on a Saturday, I pushed my cart past the deli while she trailed behind, glued to her screen, sighing at each aisle like the cereal offended her. "Grab the almond milk," she said, not looking up. "Say please," I answered without heat. She looked up then. "Please grab the almond milk," she repeated a little sharp. "Now we're talking," I said, and took two. At checkout, she tapped the card reader out of habit, then paused. "Your card," she said. "No." I told the cashier, card already in hand. "Separate." The cashier nodded. My items slid one way, hers the other. She stared. "Since when?" "Since now," I said. "Schedules separate. Carts separate. Money too. We'll settle bills like roommates until the house warms up." "That's insulting." "It's accurate," I said. "You can't have a teammate when you bench him every night." The cashier looked down like this wasn't the first show of the day. Outside, the neighbor, Mrs. Lopez, waved from across the lot with her grandkid on her hip. "You two coming to the block barbecue next Sunday?" she called. "We'll see," I answered. "We'll be there." My wife cut in, then shot me a look. "Right. We'll see," I repeated and put the bags in the truck. Mrs. Lopez's eyebrow did a little dance. like she'd just watched two actors try to improvise different scripts. At home, she followed me into the garage and shut the door behind her. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Since when do you make unilateral decisions about our money?" "Since you made unilateral decisions about our marriage," I replied, putting the socket set back in its drawer. "No more autopilot. If there's closeness, there's joint. If there isn't, we do it like adults sharing a space. I'm not a light switch." "Then stop flicking it," I said. She took a breath. "You know what? Fine. I'm going to the gym. Have a good workout," I told her, and started the compressor. When the door shut, the garage felt quieter than it should have. Monday at lunch, I sat on the tailgate by the shop's back door and ate a sandwich. The sun hit the asphalt hard. Nate leaned next to me with a soda. "You've got the look," he said. "What look is that?" "The look of a man who stopped offering and started billing," he said. "How's the pushback?" "Loud," I said, checking my phone. 3 texts in a row. "Pick up my sister's cake. Confirm 7 p.m. Wear the blue shirt." I put the phone in my pocket. "I'm not doing her schedule for her." "Good," he said. "People treat you how you price yourself." That night, she cornered me in the kitchen before her sister's dinner. She smelled like vanilla lotion and determination. "Can you just not make a scene tonight?" she said. "It's my sister." "I never make scenes," I told her. "I make decisions." She stepped closer. "Then decide to be normal." "Normal is different now," I said, and passed her a gift bag with the bottle we'd agreed on. "And since you're keeping your distance, I'm keeping mine. I'll swing by later if I feel like it." "You're coming," she insisted. "I'm thinking about it," I said. "Try not to promise me to people like I'm a rental." She stared a beat, then softened her shoulders. "I'll make dinner tomorrow," she said, almost quiet. "Your favorite." We can, reset. There it was, the first warm breeze after a week of frost. My head tilted without my permission. "What are you angling for?" I asked. She made a face. "I'm trying. Isn't that what you want?" "I want respect," I replied. "Dinner tastes better when it comes with that." "Tomorrow," she said. "I'll do it right." I nodded once. "We'll see." The dinner the next night was good. Steak done like I like it, potatoes in a skillet, green beans with garlic. She poured me a glass, touched my arm when she set the plate down, smiled the old smile. We laughed about Nate's idea for a shop mascot. The dog took his place under my chair like we were back in a groove. After, on the couch, she leaned into my side, light, almost the way it used to be. "So," she said, "if we have weeks like this, maybe we can talk about that camping trip you want, or the new tools you were circling." 2 steps in 1 sentence. I glanced at the sink, where every pot was already soaking. "Nice dinner," I said. "Let's keep it simple. No trade shows." "I'm not trading," she murmured, tracing a circle on my sleeve. "I'm saying effort gets effort." "Right," I said. "What happens when effort stops?" "We go back to roommate economics." She sat up. "Why are you like this?" "Because I'm not a vending machine," I answered. The dog sighed, like he'd heard this part before. She slid away, annoyed. "You just can't accept me being nice." "I can," I said. "I just don't confuse nice with a contract." I stood, gathered the plates, and rinsed them. Her fork clinked the sink like a tiny bell. Wednesday, she sent me a calendar invite. Couple time, Friday 9 p.m. It had the little pink heart icon like she'd planned a meeting with a client she needed to keep. I declined the invite and sent a text. "Let real closeness grow or don't. I won't be booked for it." She replied with a thumbs down emoji. Mature. Friday, we went to her friend Kira's birthday at a wine bar downtown. I parked near the old brick building and told myself to keep it even. Inside, Kira hugged me like I'd just returned from deployment, then turned to my wife. "You got him out at night," she teased. My wife smirked. "He only leaves the garage if there's dessert." Kira laughed. "Cute." "Careful," I said with a smile. "I also do tricks for snacks." We took a table. There were 6 of us, Kira and her guy, 2 other couples I didn't know. Conversations zigzagged between jobs, vacations, somebody's broken dishwasher. Then Kira tapped her glass. "Toast," she said, "to picking people who keep us challenged." "Cheers," the table echoed. My wife lifted her glass and added, "and to patience with men who need a lot of reassurance." The table laughed. It wasn't mean on the surface, just enough to paint me with a brush she'd been dipping all month. I set my glass down and let the moment breathe. "Quick thing," I said, just loud enough for our table. We don't do little digs like that anymore. Not our brand. Her cheeks colored. It was a joke. It wasn't funny, I replied, and looked at Kira. All good. Just don't use me for material. I'm not free. Kira raised her hands. Fair. Her guy nodded. Fair. The two strangers did that tight, polite smile people do when they're glad it's not their problem. My wife tightened her grip on her glass. You're being sensitive, she said. I'm being clear, I answered. This is the public boundary. No bedroom talk, no digs, no points scored in social settings. She stared at me, surprised. The table split into side conversations like a school of fish sensing a shark. I excused myself to the restroom, washed my hands like that would wash the residue of the laugh off, and came back to find two shots sitting at my spot. What's this? I asked. Peace offering, Kira said. Water would be better, I replied, and asked the waiter for it. The night limped along. When we left, she was quiet until we got to the car. You embarrassed me, she said. I set a rule, I corrected. If you can't keep it, we don't do those nights. You made me look controlling. You did that yourself, I said, unlocking the truck. Stop talking about me like I'm a punchline, and we'll be fine. Saturday morning, I loaded 2 plastic totes into the bed of my truck. Tools I don't use daily, some old boxes of baseball cards, a couple of photo albums. I wasn't leaving. I was prepping for options. What are you doing? She asked from the porch, arms folded against the wind. Clearing space in the garage, I said. For what? For breathing, I answered and slid the last tote in. I rented a small storage unit. Cheap. If we need room to think, we have it. You're threatening to move out. I'm giving US air, I said. You don't like my version of affection? Fine. But you don't get my labor like a subscription while you hold the rest behind a gate. That's not what I'm doing. Then stop doing it, I said. She came down the steps slower than usual. Let's go for a hike later, she offered. Clear our heads. Maybe, I replied. No negotiating on the trail. I'm not. I'm serious, I cut in. We walk, we talk regular. No schedules, no trades. She raised a hand in mock oath. Fine. The hike was good. Crisp air, the dog ahead of us, the path not crowded. For an hour, we talked about normal things. The neighbor's new fence, Nate's latest project, her coworker's promotion. The sun got low, the park lights clicked on, and near the car she slid her hand into mine. I miss us, she said. I'm sorry I've been off. Work's been heavy. I glanced at her. She looked like the woman I married, determined, pretty, stubborn in a way I used to enjoy. I let my hand stay in hers. Then stop using distance like a steering wheel, I replied. I don't respond well to that. I know, she said. I heard you. Sunday night, I cooked. She sat on the counter, legs swinging, scrolling through recipes and pretending not to watch me season the chicken. I like when you take over, she said. I feel taken care of. I like when we're not keeping score, I replied. She nodded. We should plan a weekend soon. Maybe that cabin by the lake. We deserve it. I flipped the chicken. We deserve peace, I said. The location is optional. After dinner, she pulled me toward the couch. Come on, she said. Let's just be close. No rules. I hesitated. Then I let the hesitation go. She rested her head on my shoulder, and for a minute, the house felt like a house. Monday morning, there was a list on the counter again. Not a big one. Just 3 items. Drop package at post office. Grab dog food. RSVP to Lopez Barbecue. The 3rd item had a smiley face. I left the list where it lay. At lunch, she called. I put it on speaker as I wiped my hands with a shop rag. Hey, she said. Quick thing. Can you stop by my office later with those brochures? I told my boss you'd help. And wear that blue shirt he liked last time. No, I said. You told me we were done treating me like staff. This is different, she insisted. It's important. If it's important, handle it, I replied. I'm not your assistant. She was quiet a second. Then she sighed. You're really doing this. I really am, I said. This is sustainable, or it isn't. That night, the second turn came. She lit candles, put on the old playlist, called me into the living room like it was the first year again. What's all this? I asked. Trying, she said, eyes bright. I know I've been rough. I want us. I studied her. Do you? Or do you want the perks of me without the work of us? That's not fair, she protested. I'm here, aren't I? Tonight, I said. What about tomorrow when I say no to your calendar? She stepped close, hands at my collar. Why can't you just accept goodwill? I can't, I said, voice steady. I just won't rent my backbone for it. She dropped her hands. You're impossible. We're just done being simple, I said. I turned off 2 of the candles. One stayed lit, flickering in the draft. It made the living room look like a stage after the actor forgot his lines. 2 days later, I heard the kill turn with my own ears. She was in the kitchen with the phone face up, on speaker, while she chopped peppers. Her friend Kira's voice filled the room. So did the dinner work? Kira asked. Somewhat, my wife said. He's still stubborn. I ordered a fancy weekend for us, though. He'll relax. He just needs to feel rewarded when he gets things right. Like training a dog, Kira laughed. Exactly, my wife said, and the knife kept hitting the board. He says he wants respect, but what he really wants is attention. I can manage that. I stood in the doorway long enough to hear the rest of my past 2 weeks get filed under plan. Then I stepped in. Speakers on, I commented. They both froze. The knife paused. The pepper juice glistened. Kira recovered first. Hey, she said, chirpy. We were just. Yeah, I said. I heard. My wife's mouth opened. It sounded bad. It sounded honest, I replied. You're taking it wrong, she tried. No, I said. I'm taking it exactly as intended. You're not building a marriage. You're managing a staff position. She set the knife down. Don't be dramatic. I'm being precise, I said. You want to control the supply of basic things and call it strategy. And you thought I wouldn't hear. That's the part that tells me everything. Kira came through the phone, suddenly meek. I'll let you too. Good idea, I said. And tapped end. We stood there, 3 feet and a canyon between us. The dog's tags jingled in the hallway. She tried again. I made a mistake. You built a system, I corrected. This is twisted, she snapped. You're trying to make me the bad guy because I wanted some effort. You get effort when there's respect, I said. Not when there's a scoreboard behind your back. She raised her chin. If you leave, you'll regret it. If I stay, I'll disrespect myself, I replied. That I don't do. That night, I slept in the guest room like a man who'd already left mentally. I woke before dawn, wrote a note, folded it once, and put it under the sugar jar because she always reached there first in the morning. I grabbed a duffel I'd quietly packed and loaded it into the truck. The sky was gray, the street empty, the world making that pre-sunrise promise that it could be anything. But I didn't go yet. Not all at once. I gave her a last chance to show me this wasn't about power. It lasted 2 days. She tried the third illusion, sweet beyond measure. Coffee brought to the door. I was wrong, she said. We can set rules together. Just don't make rash decisions. I don't do rash, I answered. I do calculated. Then calculate this, she said softly. We can fix it. Not with your formula, I replied. And not with a performance. That evening was the neighborhood barbecue at the Lopez yard. Long tables, paper plates, kids riding bikes too close to the grill. I went because Mrs. Lopez asked me herself, and she's earned more courtesy from me than my wife had in a month. Also, it was the foreign ground I needed. Let the rules stand or fall in the eyes of people who'd seen us since we moved in. When we arrived, Mrs. Lopez hugged us both. Sit, eat, she commanded like a friendly general. Her son, Mark, a cop with a dad joke habit, flipped burgers and made conversation. How's the shop, Jack? He asked me. Busy, I said. Good busy. My wife slid into the seat next to me and touched my arm like we were right as rain. Jack's been a little high-strung lately, she told Mrs. Lopez, a smile that asked for a laugh. Mrs. Lopez didn't laugh. She looked at me. I looked back. I set my plate down. We're keeping private matters private, I said calmly, just to Mrs. Lopez and Mark, but loud enough to be heard by the small circle that always forms at these things. No jokes. No angles. My wife's smile froze. It was harmless. It wasn't, I said. I'll stay and be respectful if you do. If not, I'll head out. Mark cleared his throat. Burgers are ready, he announced like a referee. People stood, plates advanced. For 20 minutes, the air in our corner was lighter. Then a kid knocked a soda over, and as I grabbed napkins, my wife used the moment like a window. You could be helpful, she said under her breath, but not low enough. You know, step up for once. I stopped stacking napkins. I looked at her. Then I looked at the table, a handful of neighbors, mild and kind, and paying attention because people can't help watching a slow-motion collision. Here's me stepping up, I said, my voice steady, not loud. We're done playing your point system. From today, we're fully separate. Money, schedules, expectations. If it warms up again, it warms up. If not, we don't pretend. Her face went through 3 expressions in 1 second. Surprise, anger, calculation. You would do this here? She hissed. I would do this anywhere, I said. I respect myself everywhere. Mrs. Lopez set a hand to her heart, like she'd been holding her breath. Son, she said soft, do what you need. I told her. I cleaned the spilled soda, threw the napkins away, and handed the kid a fresh cup. The kid said thanks like I'd handed him a gold brick. On the walk home, she tried to seize back control. You made me look ridiculous. No, I answered. You did that when you kept picking at me in front of people. You're running, she accused. I'm walking in a straight line, I replied. At home, she pulled a printed confirmation from a drawer and slapped it on the counter. Weekend by the lake, she said. Non-refundable. Pack a bag. No, I said. Pack your own. Take a friend. She stared at me long and hard. If you leave, she said, don't come back. I won't, I promised. I don't do laps. The next morning, I executed the plan I'd finished writing at 3 a.m. during that quiet hour you only get when your house has become a hotel lobby. I canceled the couple memberships and left her the single versions with instructions. I moved the utility bills to split pay, set up a shared doc with who owed what by date, in plain adult terms. I turned off the auto transfers that had run for years. I shifted my clothes and tools I cared about into the storage unit I'd rented. I called a locksmith for Friday. I texted Nate, need a week. Your lead. He replied with a thumbs up and a got you. By noon, my phone lit up. What are you doing with the accounts? Separating, I replied. Read the doc. This is insane, she shot back. You can't just change everything. You changed everything, I answered. I just made it reflect reality. At 2, she was at the shop. She never comes to the shop. She stood just inside the bay door in a neat blouse and that face she wears for officials. Can we talk? She asked. I wiped my hands, nodded at Nate to give me a minute, and walked her to the side by the tire racks. She looked out of place among rubber and steel. You don't have to blow up your life, she said. We can come back from this. We can't, I said. I heard the plan. I felt it before I heard it. You can run a program somewhere else. I'm not your test bench. She looked at the floor, then up. I'm scared, she admitted. I don't like not knowing. Then you should have built trust instead of control, I said. Trust handles not knowing. Control just breaks everything. She reached for my arm, then let her hand drop when she saw I wasn't stepping in. So that's it. You're just done. I was done the minute you turned closeness into prize tickets, I answered. I was hoping I was wrong. I'm not. She swallowed. If you walk away, people will think. They can think whatever they like, I cut in. They don't pay my tab. They don't wake up in my house. She nodded slowly, lips pressed. If you leave, leave right, she said. Don't ghost me. I don't disappear, I replied. You'll get a note. Then you'll get quiet. Her eyes flashed. Cold. Clear, I said. You'll prefer it. No scene to manage. She left without slamming the door. Nate watched her go, then looked at me. You set the line, he said. It was overdue, I told him. That night, I put the note under the sugar jar. It read, when respect becomes a reward, there's nothing left to build on. Keep the house until the lease ends. I'll cover my half as listed. I won't be back. Jack. Nothing poetic. No extra lines. Just the fact. I loaded my duffel, the dog's bed, the drill, and the photo of my father that used to hang in the hallway. I left the wedding photos on the wall. They belonged to a past both of us had already edited. I locked the door behind me, put my key on the table before it latched, and walked to the truck. The night air was honest. I stayed at a friend's above his garage for 2 weeks. It smelled like lumber and new paint. I slept through the night for the first time in months. In the mornings, I made coffee in a mug with a chipped lip and watched the street wake up. I didn't check my phone before noon. Messages piled up. Some were short. We need to talk. Some were longer. I know I messed up. Don't throw us away. I read them all and replied to none. I'd said everything I intended to say. Anything else would feed the program I'd just deleted. On the 3rd day, she sent a picture of the empty couch. Feels strange, she wrote. It is, I answered. New can feel wrong before it feels right. She replied with, we can meet in the middle. We don't share a middle, I wrote back. We share a past. She didn't answer that one. Silence settled like dust on a shelf you've stopped cleaning. Nate asked me how I felt. We were leaning under a lifted truck, looking up at a problem easily solved by turning a wrench the right direction. Like I put a broken tool back in the drawer, I said. Not angry, just done messing with it. You'll hear from everybody, he warned. Opinions breed in silence. I'm not dating opinions, I replied. I sent the paperwork a week later. A courier delivered it to the house because I wasn't going to pretend about anything anymore. She texted me a photo of the envelope. So you're serious, she wrote. I was serious the first time you called. Respect a lever, I answered. This is just the paperwork catching up. There was one more performance. She showed up at the shop with a box of pastries for the guys and a soft voice for me. Can we do this not ugly? She asked. We are, I said. Ugly would be pretending. She nodded at the floor. I'll miss you, she said. You'll miss control, I said. There's a difference. She laughed once, but there was no humor in it. You always were a stubborn man. Stubborn kept me from being managed, I replied. She placed the box on the counter and left. Nate looked at the box, then at me. You want one? He asked. No, I said. They're not for me. In the months after, life rearranged itself without my help. The lease on the house ended. She moved to a smaller place across town. Word got around through Mrs. Lopez, who saw everything by seeing nothing and drew conclusions like a quiet detective. She seems thinner, Mrs. Lopez said on the phone. Tired. I wished her well without lying about missing anything. I bought a small place near the river. 2 bedrooms, a garage big enough for a bench and a lift, a yard the dog approved. I put up a pegboard and arranged my wrenches in order because order suited me. On Sundays, I grilled with Nate and his wife, who has a laugh that heals things. I didn't talk about the past unless asked, and when I did, I told it like the weather. It happened, it passed, I adjusted my route. I met Lauren at a hardware store, of all places. She was staring at 2 kinds of sandpaper like they were moral choices. We argued softly about grit. She was quick, and she didn't apologize every 3rd sentence like somebody hoping for a grade. We built a table together the second month we knew each other, and when I went to pay for the lumber, she put her card down and said, We're not doing ledgers. We're doing life. I believed her because she never made a point of it again. One night, months after the note, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. You seem happier, it read. No signature. The photo attached was my truck in my new driveway, taken from across the street. I typed, I am. I hit send and blocked the number. No message would be sent through the back door of my life again. You might think leaving with a note is cold. People like speeches because speeches feel like work. But the work was all the choices leading to the note. The note was just a timestamp. The day I realized this, when someone treats basic care as currency, they're telling you they don't see you as a partner. They see you as a system to operate. You can argue philosophy, or you can cancel the subscription. Last week, I ran into Kira at the grocery store. She looked older in a way stress does to a person. Hey, she said, like we were in a sitcom and an audience might clap. Haven't seen you. Been living, I replied. She's doing okay, Kira offered. I hope so, I said. She said you were decisive, she added, like the word had edges. I am, I said. It keeps my life simple. Kira shifted her basket. We didn't mean, you know. You meant it, I said. Not mean, not warm. People don't run programs they don't believe in. She looked down. You're right. I usually am, I said, and grabbed the almond milk. Old habits, new reason. Lauren asked me that night if I ever regretted the line I drew. We were on the porch, the wood table we built between us, 2 glasses of water sweating in the heat. I regret waiting, I said, but I don't regret leaving. What told you it was final? She asked. Her plan, I answered. Once I hear a plan, I don't pretend it isn't the plan. She made closeness a lever. You can't build with levers. All you do is move the same weight around until you're tired. Lauren nodded. Fair, she said, and rested her hand on mine without a speech, without a contract. It felt like a simple thing being simple. People think men leave because they find something greener. I didn't. I left because I found a mirror. It said, You've allowed disrespect to become normal. I didn't argue with the mirror. I changed the room. The last thing my ex sent me, months ago, before the messages stopped, was a photo of the lake cabin confirmation, still stuck to the fridge with a magnet, and used. We could have had this, she wrote. We had plenty. I replied then. Just not the thing that matters. And that's the only line I'll ever give that old chapter again. I hear sometimes she tells people I'm stubborn. Good. Let that be my worst trait in their stories. Stubborn is the muscle that kept me from becoming a prop in someone else's show. It's the reason my house is quiet in a good way, my truck starts in the cold, my dog doesn't hide under the table, and the woman sitting on my porch doesn't need a chart to know when to be kind. There's a satisfaction in putting your own name back on your time. It's not loud. It doesn't need applause. It's the kind of quiet where you can hear yourself again. When I left, I told her one last thing at the door, after she said her piece about me making a mistake. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't explain. I just gave her the only sentence that mattered. I don't negotiate for basic respect, I said. Not from anyone. That line shut the door for good. And on the other side of it, life began acting like I'd been right to wait exactly as long as I did and not a day more.